sands of time tick over as we move forward through Chicago. In the not-too-distant future, we find ourselves outside Chicago University. The rubble of the philosophy wing sits there. A cold breeze runs through the air. This cold, chilly winter night. We pull over to see a familiar face, Ace, talking to his friend Daryl Hammer, engage in a deep and emotional conversation. Daryl completely changed, shell-shocked, and Ace trying his best to keep his friend together. But that is not what we're paying attention to at this time. Instead, we pull back closer to Chicago University, where T. O'Sullivan stands, watching the boy, looking at him with apprehensive eyes. As T is looking over at Ace, someone else walks up, a man in a camo flak jacket, with his arm in a sling, walks up. This man's name is Jack Cannon Davis. You will learn more about him later. But for now...
So you're kind of a surrogate sire to the kid, aren't you? Not one to judge, but it's not something you commonly see these nights. What's the story there, if you don't mind me asking?
I was, for a time. I found the kid right after he was embraced. Dragged him out of an exploding building. You heard about the university, right?
Big picture, sure. And I've heard that you, Ace, and Elise were involved somehow.
That's one way to put it. I didn't know her at the time, but it was Ace, myself, and two others, Elena and James. But they're gone now. Elena was obsessed with Fanny Fannin, a local pop star. James is in with the Anarchs, who wanted him to fuck shit up. Their words, not mine. He stumbled upon something much bigger than he could have imagined. But yeah, the five of us happened to be at the university that night. Tyrus and his goons, the Wolf Pack, tracked me down shortly after. You can find it funny if you want, but I'd say I wasn't as talkative back then as I am now. They were quite persuasive. Didn't feel like lying, so I ended up telling them the truth.
The truth? You were involved.
I was there that night, but I was there for the kid, not for whatever shady shit they had going on behind the scenes. Same as Elena, James, Ace, and Elise, who were there for their own reasons.
Hey, are the two of you talking about James and Elena?
Were they your former coterie mates?
Yeah. James was an explosive personality. Elena was the absolute opposite. But they got on like they got on. Elena was almost always crying and hiding. James was knocking heads. That's just how they were.
Elena was creepy, but also very useful. And James, well, James was a firecracker with a very short fuse. If something could set him off, he was going off, and we were all in for a show. But if you are talking about the beginning, I wasn't there yet. However, I assumed Jackson forced all of you to work together, same as me.
Yeah. They sent each of the hounds after us. Alexa, Waneka, Tyrus. All of which fucked us up. Especially James. His face was fucked. To be fair, I didn't look much better myself. Christ, Ace was a mess. The next thing I knew, Jackson had lined us up for a fucking trial.
I may have avoided kindred society for a long time, but even I heard of Jackson. Heard he was a hard ass.
You could say that.
If I'm not mistaken, you were recently embraced. Is that correct? It's a yes or no answer. Is that correct? So I will forgive this transgression this one time. But if you fuck with my shit again, your head is coming off your shoulders. You heard? Kidnapped a mortal in my city. What the fuck gives you the right? You got balls, I'll give you that. Tell me, have you been in touch with any of your family? Oh, I don't give a fuck about any letter, Elena. I just wanted to know if you had protection or not. Why the fuck did you kill my shell? Why am I meant to believe you? You're an anarch. You were at the university.
Fuck me, the prince was intimidating. He knocked that shit-eating grin right off Ace's face. He was ready to chop his head off for being embraced without permission, when I stepped up and put my head on the chopping block instead, so to speak. If it wasn't for my sire, he wouldn't have let that shit go. From that moment on, I was the boy's surrogate sire for all intents and purposes.
What are we doing? Let's go get Tommy.
The kid's talking to his spook buddy. We can't just leave him.
Fine.
So Jackson brought you together? Then what?
He told us we needed to find who killed his sheriff, Damien.
Ugh, sounds like the cammies, making you do their dirty work. So what did you do?
Ace left to do his own thing and ran into a woman called Thea. I had to make sure he was safe. He still wasn't aware of how dangerous his new life had become. One mistake on his end and we were both dead.
And between all the babysitting and kindred infighting, James and Elena took it upon themselves to investigate. Thank God. They ended up speaking to the Anarch Baron, Anita Wainwright. And they brought us some real leads.
She was willing to help us out, even offered to stop the prince executing us. The leads she gave us were some Nosferatu called Crook, the Nosferatu P.I. Martin, and Noah Guel at Ohio Airport. Fucking Second Inquisition Den, apparently.
Yeah, that was right about the time I showed up, and you guys were about to be jumped by that racist piece of shit, Balthazar.
Balthazar?
All right, let's go. We've got things to do.
Finally.
We pull back out of the scene as the group, this coterie, continue to talk and move forward with their night as the sands of time pull back and Chicago returns to autumn.